This podcast is supported by patrons. You can find a full list of them in the description of this episode.
Good morning, my listeners. This is Wiktor Doctor and another episode of Good Morning BSS World. And this time we are touching again some human aspects, some HR aspects, but this time we will touch it from completely different angle. Actually, I was very much surprised when I spoke earlier on to Sandra, who is my guest today, and when she told me that there is something like FMHG, I was a little bit surprised. So today we will uncover for you what stands behind FMHG. But to know who is my guest, I will allow Sandra to introduce herself. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Wiktor. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
So tell me, what do you do on a daily basis?
Well, if you want to know what I do first thing in the morning, I open up my email and reply to my clients. And my clients are people who are looking for a job, who think about looking for a job, who want to improve their careers. So they are individuals, experienced managers, executives who have some career-related topic to discuss. And then usually at least once a day, I have a look at a couple of CVs that I help improve and format. I prepare people for interviews, do webinars, share our know-how on the job market. And once in a while, we also help HR departments improve their services, candidate experience, etc.
But you don't call yourself a recruiter. You call yourself a career angel.
I am the opposite of a recruiter. I'm not a headhunter. I'm a job hunter. So a recruiter works for a company, for their clients. That's where the interest is. The company, the corporation, the firm pays for the services. In my case, I am paid by the individuals. So I'm paid for very specific services like formatting and preparing a CV, preparing a LinkedIn profile, preparing for an interview simulation, recommending headhunters to get in touch with, etc.
Okay, so this is absolutely the opposite.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I wasn't aware this kind of services are even available on the market. So far, I was rather focused on that those are companies who are trying to find employees, and employees are just left alone just to find out some kind of a job announcements and then just go to a recruiter either as an agency or to a recruiter from this final company and then just do their job. But it means that you are like a coach, like a guideliner for people. An angel, yeah, an angel.
And what you say, it's actually a very common misconception because often the people who get in touch with us do so while being very frustrated and then say, Sandra, I've gotten in touch with 2 headhunters and they are not helping me find a job. And then it's me who has to explain, but it's not the headhunter's job to help you find a job. It's they are paid to help a company find the right employees in line with certain requirements, but it's not their job to help you find a job. When you look at how busy recruiters are, they get dozens of CVs every day. So one individual could end up having 200, 300 CVs per week. That's 500 per month, 1,000 per month, 10, 12,000 per year. So it's even physically impossible for a recruiter who is not paid to help candidates to also respond to every candidate, etc.
So if those recruiters talk to those hundreds or thousands, or maybe not even talk to, but verify hundreds and thousands of the CVs, how many are verified by you?
What do you mean by verified?
I guess that actually, let's have in mind such a scenario that I am a person who is searching for a new job, yeah, and I do fail in any of the recruitment talks and so on and so on. And then I find you. You are this career angel. So how many of such Wiktors you are having?
We get currently approximately 150 inquiries per month.
Wow.
Yes.
This is impressive. Really, so many people need this kind of support on a monthly basis?
It's about 150 per month, and that's only career angels. We're still a small company. We call ourselves a boutique advisory. But then on top of that, you have, of course, people who get in touch with other career coaches, CV writing agencies, interview preparation coaches, etc. So the need is definitely there.
Wow. I must say, I'm really, really not even surprised. I am now shocked, to be honest, with all of this. But it wasn't a purpose of our call.
I know, but I'll add one more thing.
Sure.
One more thing to add to that, to show how needed the content is and how needed reliable data around career management and job search is. Since January 2020, we have had more than 11,000 people join our lectures and webinars.
Okay.
And we're not a training company. So it's over 11,000 people who have participated in our training sessions in the last, 3 years soon.
Wow. So it means that, first of all, people do need this kind of education, I would call it like that.
Absolutely.
And then guidelines when it comes to the second steps of finding a proper company who might be a good employer for such employee.
Yes.
Okay. When we had an initial call, you mentioned this phrase FMHG. I already know what stands behind those 4 letters, but from a normal perspective, I would say this is, I did already had such a thing that this is very similar to this fast-moving consumer goods. So something what is very productive, I would say, focused on a product which moves all around on the market. Does it mean that in here this product is a human?
Yes.
So let's go deeper inside of it. If you could explain me more, what is FMHG?
So several years ago, I started calling the state of the job market and how candidates are treated. I started calling that FMHG instead of fast-moving consumer good, fast-moving human good. And it's a terrible thing to say, and it sounds very harsh and brutal, but it's the state of today's job market. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So in an ideal world, every candidate would be seen for who they are as a whole. You would look at the candidate, their current competencies, their skills, their potential, their desire to develop, their personality, their values, and if you want to be very cheesy, their hopes and dreams for their future. But the reality is very different. Candidates, irrespective of how experienced they are, that starts at a student junior level, interns up to senior executives at a global level. It doesn't matter how much experience they have. Those candidates are reduced to a piece of paper with keywords. And that's as somebody who is paid to write those keywords and put them on a piece of paper. Because they rarely receive replies to their applications. And it doesn't matter if they apply through a system or contact a human being directly, be it a headhunter, recruiter, talent acquisition specialist, or the hiring manager, or the human resources director. And if feedback is shared, it's not genuine, because what's the most common standard? Thank you very much for your application. We have decided to move on with candidates of a better fit, or you're overqualified. And if feedback is shared, that's a big if, because in most cases, companies simply ghost candidates, meaning they stop responding. And it doesn't matter if they stop responding after 1 interview, after 2 interviews, or after 5 interviews. Companies simply stop responding. It's easier to ghost a candidate than to go through feedback process. Now, would you say that this type of behavior reflects treating somebody with respect? No, that's not being respectful to candidates. That's why I started using that expression FMHG, fast moving human goods, because candidates are being commoditized. They're treated like the product with a price tag. Or recently a client of mine, and I'm quoting him now, and said, Sandra, I feel treated like a piece of meat. And that's not okay.
That's absolutely. But I'm a little bit surprised with this lack of feedback, to be honest, because since a couple of years already, we are being educated how important this feedback is. It doesn't matter if this is already in the working place where managers talk to their staff or staff to their managers and so on. But on this recruitment level, I would say, especially when we talk about the employees market. So we don't have enough employees to cover the job announcements. Yeah, this kind of a feedback is like It's not even required, it's a must. And you are telling me that it's still not a market standard.
I can tell you how far off market standard it is. Let's assume that you are a competent, well-educated manager applying to 60 companies, and you apply to them, not even, let's say, job ads is one thing, we can discuss it a little bit later, but they proactively get in touch with the human resources department saying, dear HR director, name, first name, last name, I've seen that you have posted a job ad. This is my application. I want to make sure that you see that I'm interested. I fit the profile at 100%. Guess how many HR directors will actually reply to an email like that? In percent.
1.
It's 0 to 1%. Yes.
So I was quite close.
The human resources department is often the least human element on the job market. They shouldn't be called human resources. There is a complete ignoring of candidates happening. It's not even acknowledging, hey, I've seen you, or I'm too busy to reply, or thank you, but no thank you. You can, we live in 2022, soon 2023. Everybody knows how to do Control-C, Control-V. Just have a ready standard reply to say, thank you, if we're interested, we get in touch. How difficult is that? Plus, most, if they reply, they say, please go through our career site. Then you can, with one click, reply to hundreds of candidates by telling them, listen, thank you, your application is under review. If we do not get in touch with you within 14 days, please consider that a rejection. One click, nobody does it.
That's very interesting, and I would say quite brave to say that nobody does it. Really, nobody does it?
Almost nobody. Of course, you have positive examples, and the positive examples now, what is the positive example? It is very rare that as a standard, a company replies to every single candidate. That is super rare. Now, if candidates get replies, it's usually, yes, we want to interview you, because that's in the interest of the company. And then even though candidates are part of the recruitment process, even though at some point the company decides to hire somebody else, to freeze the recruitment project, etc., those candidates also don't receive a reply, no communication.
Okay, so it means that actually, when it is in an interest of an employer, then this kind of return information comes sooner or later, but actually it comes. But when it is not matching the needs of the final of this employer, which stands on the end of this line, then usually this kind of a feedback is just not coming back to the potential employee of such company.
Exactly. And now, given that, would you really say that we are on an employee market?
That's a good question, to be honest. But
not. Unless you are under 30 years old or have competencies that are very sought after, like IT programmer, there is no employee market. There are hundreds of competent people on the market that are simply overlooked. So
what can we advise them? Because, okay, if this is the reality, and let's assume it is, and let's face the fact that in some cases it is like that. So how to actually advise, or what to advise to employees, what they should do, or how they should be prepared for either such no answer processes, or maybe they can do something about that. And just what to advise such people?
So one thing, as you said, manage expectations. Don't expect what you usually would expect from yourself in general business relations. So, and understand it has nothing to do with you. Because a lot of people who currently, for the first time, are on the job market, they say, Sandra, I've applied to 20 job ads. I've contacted 3 headhunted. Those are the leading executive search firms. But I haven't received any replies. Probably I'm not competent enough. Probably I'm too old. Probably it's because I'm a woman or over 50 or something. But the truth is, they treat everybody like that, unless they really want to hire you, because they really, really, really need you. So one, just get over it. It has nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. Number two, depending on the channel that we use to apply to a job ad, we need to understand how it works. Now, you said job ads. When applying to job ads, in most cases, when it concerns large organizations, 99% of large organizations use so-called applicant tracking systems. Those are basically candidate management softwares. And most/some of them, depending on the type of companies we apply, they have a functionality that allows to compare the candidate to the job description. And based on that comparison of keywords, they will then suggest a ranking of candidates. Meaning if a job ad is very popular and you have 2, 3, 4, 500 candidates, the software will give you a ranking. LinkedIn also does a ranking and it shows top applicants based on algorithm, keywords, and skills. And the questions that you might include at the application stage. Meaning from a recruiter perspective, if the software tells me, listen, 500 people have applied, start with those 20 at the top, because here we have an 80% match between job ad and CV. Start by contacting them. The recruiter says, yeah, of course. Why would I start with the CV number 500 if it's ranked at the bottom? Now, the thing is, and we have done the tests, the software looks only for exact keyword matches in the part of the CV that is legible from the software perspective. Now, there are softwares that are outdated, open source, etc., that, for example, can't interpret information in the header, in the footer, or in a table. How many CVs have tables hidden? So one is, from a technical perspective, a lot of CVs are not prepared correctly. So although the information is there, the software doesn't see it. Plus, it looks for exact keyword matches. So if the job description says M&A and the CV says mergers and acquisition, there's no match. A human would understand, of course, that's the same thing. A fairly trained human. But the software looks for exact keyword matches. So one piece of advice would be understand how those softwares work, and make sure when applying to job ads to have a simple document with the relevant keywords. So you get ranked at the top, so the recruiter calls you first. 75% of CVs uploaded to a cloud, so to a cloud solution, applicant tracking systems, are never seen by human. 75%.
That's surprising, but having said that, I assume that I guess we can somehow, maybe it's a wrong word, but I will use it, like cheat these ATS systems, yeah? So
let's say hack.
Oh, well,
you hack the system. Hack the system, because it has nothing to do with cheating. It's about understanding how it works.
That's even better description of that. So knowing those, the way how they work, and using those tags or words or catchy things, it means that we can increase the probability of finding our job answer, I would say, as much better fitting than the others.
Absolutely.
And this is what you do?
Among others, yes.
And what are the other things?
Well, one thing with job ads, how many job ads can you apply to? Especially the higher up you are in an organization, the pyramid gets more narrow at the top, there are less job ads. And job ads is what you would call the visible job market. But the majority of recruitment processes happen on the hidden job market. Hidden job market means recommendation, networking, applying to companies directly, getting in touch with executive search firms, recruitment agencies. So we also help our clients maneuver the hidden job market to access the hidden job market, so they don't have to rely on job ads. And again, just the fact that something is published doesn't mean it's real. There are companies who publish job ads because they want to do market research. They want to see if somebody wants to leave from their competitors. They want to understand how much the market is currently paying. And it's much cheaper to publish a job ad than to buy a salary survey from Mercer, for example. So sometimes job ads are published strategically, even though a person has already started working there, because they want to make sure that if the person doesn't survive the probation period, they have backup candidates. But you as a candidate who applies, you don't know, is this a real job ad? Is this a strategic job ad? Does somebody want to get information from me? Some companies post job ads because they need to generate ideas, need some input on business plans, etc., etc. So you as a candidate, I see it so many times, and it's really frustrating when people put 1, 2, 3 hours of their personal time, their private time, their family time into preparing those near perfect job description, applications. They craft and work on the motivation letter to really, express how much they want to work there, and just to find out that that wasn't really a real job ad. And that's really those things. I don't want to sound dramatic, but sometimes it does break my heart.
Yeah, I heard about this practice, and that this is like, okay, we have already fulfilled the position, but let's do some extra viewing of the market and just see how it goes. Sometimes it is just to increase the number of potential new players, new candidates who might suit to this what we are having and what we are doing, and sometimes it's just a process to see how hot this position on the market is. Yeah, so not even having in mind collecting the CVs or doing anything else behind that. Okay, so you mentioned you have like over 100 people monthly, yeah?
150 on average that send an inquiry to Career Angels.
And tell me, what is the profile of such people? Because I can imagine that sometimes those are either people who are very much experienced for very, very narrow positions, and it's hard for them to find a suitable job. But sometimes it may be just a frustrated person on the beginning of their, let's say, work career, and just don't know what to do, how to behave even on the market, and looks for some kind of a support. Do you verify some kind of a average profile of such people who do require this kind of support?
One thing to know about Career Angels is that we are an organization that tracks everything that is possible to be tracked in a statistical form. We analyze and track it. So we track how long our first conversations take. We track statistics, where they come from, where they're currently at from their in their career, what kind of services they're interested in, what kind of problems they have that they want to discuss with us. We track on the job market response rate, interview rate. So anything that can be tracked, we track it. You can be sure. So to answer your question, depending on the year, but on average, 80% of our clients are board level or board -1. And this is national, regional, or global board. I like your expressions.
Yeah, I'm still like putting inside of my brain. But yeah, go on, proceed.
So about 80% is top management. About 10-15% is experienced managers or experienced experts. And the others are specialists, and that's anywhere from beginning of their career, juniors, etc. And within those, about 70% are actually thinking or already looking for a job, while most are actually employed. So it's rare that somebody gets in touch with us who is unemployed. And the others want to work on their career from a strategic perspective. So it's about not an immediate, I need to find a job in 3 months, otherwise I go bankrupt. But it's about, I want to become a regional CEO in 3 years. How do I get there? I want to change my profile. How do I do that? I want to make more money. How do I do that? I want to improve my personal brand. How do I do that? So that's on the strategic part.
Do you think, you mentioned personal brand, do you think it is like an important thing for us as people who work on the market to work on our personal branding? Are we already on such a level that this is important for us to be known, to be recognized by somebody who is good in something?
Mm-hmm. I'll answer that. I mean, the short answer would be yes, but it's not a simple yes.
Mm-hmm.
The way you phrased your question, it implies that personal branding automatically means that you are known.
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, personal branding is even a little bit simpler. I'll give you an example. Imagine Wiktor is looking for a job, and Wiktor sends a CV to recruiter Sandra. Sandra opens a CV and has a first impression. And Sandra might think, based on Wiktor's CV, oh, this is a fantastic guy. I want to interview Wiktor. Before I contact Wiktor, I go onto his LinkedIn profile. And there he has a photo from 10 years ago cut out from a wedding. I'm like, that's not very professional. Then I continue reading and I see there is a mismatch between LinkedIn and CV. So I'm like, what's true? LinkedIn or CV? What's more? I don't know. So I continue reading and I find 3 spelling mistakes. I'm like, this is weird. But the CV kind of would fit my recruitment project. So I will give him a call. So I call Wiktor and I hear background noise and it's like, yes. Like, hi, Wiktor, this is Sandra calling from CE Headhunters. I'd like to talk about your experience because you might fit our recruitment project. Hello? So whatever we discuss and that impression is then a variation of you as a professional. So I have a CV personality, a LinkedIn personality, a phone personality, an emailing personality, a proper interview personality. And the majority of candidates on the job market have what I call multiple personality disorder. They are not consistent across all channels. So for me, personal branding starts with something as simple as be consistent. Be consistent in how you write your name. Be consistent, have a professional email address. And that doesn't mean to get your own domain. My most favorite example is one. It was a high-level finance director, Teddy Bear 66, because he was born in 66. And this was the email he would use on the job market. Come on. People forget to sometimes add their phone number to the CV or don't realize that they have their old phone number or they have a spelling mistake in the phone number. Like, be consistent. All those little details influence how we are perceived. And you don't have to be quoted in the media to have a personal brand. Your personal brand is, even at this micro level across those channels, that's already what you communicate. And most people get that wrong, because what you have to understand as a candidate, it is not the job of the recruiter to include people in the recruitment funnel. Their single most important role is to find reasons to exclude you. And for some recruiters, exclusion means spelling mistakes, inconsistencies, unprofessional over the phone, too talkative, not talkative enough, etc., etc. So as candidates, what we can do and what we have influence on is how we present ourselves. And it's not about pretending to be somebody who we are not. It's not about creating a persona and a social media presence. Keep it simple. Simply be consistent across the different channels. Be professional.
Especially when we talk about those senior positions, yeah, because we already assume that this kind of a person has already some kind of a background and professional life, which probably is in years or dozens of years. Yeah.
Yes.
I am not 66 yet, but I do remember times when there were no social media. Yeah. So people were applying for jobs just on paper, I would say, or Okay, even I remember probably the times before the emails, but anyway, let's assume the emails already existed. So there was, what I want to say, there wasn't LinkedIn, there wasn't other, let's say, professional services where people are just sharing their information about their professional career, because there is no only LinkedIn. It's worth to say there are a couple of others, probably not as much recognized as this one. Do you think that now people who are on these critical job positions, I would say, so the C-level, the professionals, the management levels, do they have to be on LinkedIn?
Yes. If you're not on LinkedIn, you don't exist.
Whoa, that's brave.
LinkedIn is a database of candidates. Now, what is important to remember, the majority of recruitment firms, executive search firms, recruiters, even if it's an in-house recruitment division, in most cases, they use LinkedIn to generate list of candidates, long list, short list, etc. LinkedIn has a module for corporations and LinkedIn Recruiter, etc., etc. And if you're not there, it is relatively unlikely for somebody to actually find you. And yes, of course, there are executive search firms that do a brilliant job, that will map up the market beyond LinkedIn. They will activate the network, etc., etc. But if we go even a little bit lower, just a little bit, so it's not a 50,000 euro executive search project or even more expensive, but let's say middle management, upper middle management, if you are not on LinkedIn, and if you're not on LinkedIn, but all of your peers and colleagues are on LinkedIn, nobody will go through the trouble of trying to find you hidden below a rock. I'm sorry.
Okay. To be honest, I also have such a feeling that LinkedIn has dominated the market, and yeah, I think we should be there. Probably not everyone should have this premium version. I don't have. I have a regular LinkedIn profile, I would say, but a lot of my friends or colleagues or business partners, they already use this professional paid version of LinkedIn because it gives some kind of an extra tools, which I, to be honest, don't understand still yet. Maybe I should do my lesson in some time.
I can explain that to you once we finish our podcast.
That's okay. Maybe that's a topic for another one, because that could be also very interesting discussion, how to use LinkedIn professionally.
I can spoil something from a candidate perspective, and most professionals do not need LinkedIn Premium.
Oof, great.
Yeah. just to put it out there.
Great. Okay, Sandra, let's maybe do some kind of a wrap up of our conversation, because we started with a talk that, first of all, agencies usually don't care too much. Maybe I am too brave with saying that, but they don't care too much who a single candidate is, but they rather treat it like a bunch of candidates, and they try to find the one who suits the best to the offer which is being
agencies and companies alike.
Okay, so this is like one side of a story. We have the second side of a story, which is an employee who, first of all, can work somewhere. So it is not an unemployed person. This is a person who usually works somewhere, but is looking for career change or some kind of a development to go faster, better, earn more money, develop him or herself, and so on and so on. We, of course, have also a group of candidates who are just a freshie on the market, and they just look for some kind of an advice, and so on and so on. We've got tools like LinkedIn, for example, or other this kind of systems. We've got also those systems which you called
applicant tracking systems, ATS.
Okay, the one which are doing some kind of a job themselves to verify these hundreds or thousands of CVs which are being sent, and then just creates a short list for the human recruiter. Doesn't matter if from agency or the internal company who is using this short list to find out the person. I now need from you 3 advices for people who would like to be either found or recognized on the market as a valuable candidate. What would you advise such people to do, what they should focus on. It can be very high level. Yeah, I don't expect like very big details, but what we could say to people who are in a position, okay, I need to change job. Yeah, I don't know, frustrated. I work too long in this one place. I want to develop. So what such person should do to be on a good track?
I'll pick out one word that you added to your question, which is high value. Because high value means worth paying more money for. And I'll focus on that aspect.
Sure.
One needs to understand that salary negotiations don't start when you receive an offer or when you are asked how much you want to make. Salary negotiations start with your brand. So one, make sure that you do not have that multiple personality disorder. Make sure that you have your affairs in order in terms of the different channels, that it's professional, that it is proofread, that it is of high quality. So the basic tools, CV, LinkedIn profile, email communication, how you talk about yourself, make sure that is consistent. That's one. Number two, activate the channels and understand how those channels work. Take the time to understand how applicant tracking systems work. Take the time to understand how the LinkedIn algorithm works. There are things you can do on your LinkedIn profile that attract the right people to your profile without you even having to go out and apply. But most people don't take the time to understand it because, it's LinkedIn. I read and that's it. No, that's not it. There's a whole machine of algorithm going on in the background. Understand how to talk to headhunters. Make sure, because that's one of the channel, it's not enough to know one or two headhunters. One or two headhunters have access to 5 or 10% of the recruitment projects on the market. Make sure that relevant headhunters, that is usually in most cases 20, 30, 40 headhunters, depending on the size of the job market. Make sure they know you exist. Build relationships with them. And don't worry, it's not that you get in touch with 30 headhunters tomorrow and in 2 weeks you have 5 job offers and you need to quit your job. In most cases, those relationships will start paying off in 12 months, 24 months, or 3 years later. But if you want to kind of make sure that your career is somehow more crisis resistant, you need to build those relationships with recruiters before you need it. Because the moment you need it is already too late. So that's the second piece of advice. Understand how the channels work and then activate them strategically. Third piece of advice.
One comment from me here.
Yes.
It sounds to me like a marathon, not a short track.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, maybe the third thing, just also to kind of put a wrap up to it and a wrap up and also to comment on what you just said, the marathon. The job market has changed. Manage your expectations. When I started work over 20 years ago as a junior recruiter in executive search, I would have about 90 minutes per candidate. I could spend talking to them. I would do their job. I would do my job. I would collect information, prepare the CV, prepare reports, send it to the client, etc. Right now, a recruiter has 20, 30 minutes, not 90. So the responsibility of how you present yourself is on the candidate, not that much on the recruiter anymore, because of how high pressure and how intensive and VUCA, volatile, uncertain, etc., our world has become. So maybe the third thing is understand that there's no quick wins. There is no magic tricks. You have to do the work if you want to make sure that you do have a career and that the career goes in a way that you want, not necessarily the market or the organization. So manage expectations and adapt to that. Yeah.
Very good advices, to be honest. I did a lot of notes from our
talk
today. Yeah, those were really interesting things. And I do like to actually come back later on to some kind of things which I write when I talk to people about this kind of stuff. And to be honest, I'm very happy that actually we had this talk, because so far,
me too.
I must admit that I wasn't very much aware that, first of all, this kind of needs of employees are some kind of taken care of already, because as I understood, career angels do that. So they represent employee, not an employer. So completely different side of the market story, which is good because the market needs this kind of two sides. Yeah, sometimes when it is just only one part of the certain topic which is taken care of, it is missing something. Yeah, so now here I can see that it is good that employees can have this kind of representatives, because one of the technical representative is this LinkedIn, which we mentioned. Yeah, if we run our profile well, it is well prepared, it is clear, it is just not overheated, but just with the proper information about who we are, it already does the job. But sometimes people just need to be more aware of this, what stands behind the written letters. So really, really good lesson for me. Last question.
Yes.
If anyone wants actually to find this kind of a support like you are providing, so where such person should go?
Of course, to careerangels.eu. And of course, through our website that is in Polish and English, you can book a free career consultation. You can also, through the website, ask for a free CV report. So you can send us your CV and we can let you know how your CV is doing against all the other CVs on the job market. You can find me and my colleagues on LinkedIn. And overall, because I know this is about Career Angel and it's our conversation, but overall, we want people to use career advisors and we want people to use competent career advisors. So you can also look at career advisors who have completed one of our courses. We run a postgraduate degree at the Kuzminski University called Career Advisory. So it's not that you must work with us or don't work with anybody else, but there are out there really good people that are worth working with, because it's better that you get good career advice as opposed to no career advice at all, if that means career angels or none. So please do look for support. You will get ahead much faster. That's why sports people have coaches.
That's what I wanted to say. It's like in sports.
I read your mind. See?
That's what I wanted to say. That's like in sport, we've got coaches and managers. Yeah, because those are two levels, let's say, of support for sportsmen. One is to coach you how to be better and better with your results, and the second one, which is a manager, is how to drive your career in one club or another, yeah, or one representation or the other. And that's the role for career representatives or managers or professionals who can teach you and guide you how to develop on the quite big job market. Sandra, it was a big pleasure, I must say.
Likewise.
I will make sure that all the links which you mentioned here to your webpage and LinkedIn profile will be connected to the description of our talk. So I guess some people may use your advice in a little bit more way. But for today, thank you very much.
Thank you too.